Oh, here it is. Life regeneration. Which would give me life regen. Because I'm pretty sure it's on one of these later later bits, so I can't just switch over to it. There it is. Gosh. I gotta have 50 points in toughness before I get a new life regen. Hopefully I get some equipment that gives me that instead. Just so I can keep going a little bit longer. Because I'm taking some small chip damage, and it is killing me slowly. Let's see. Hey, Wander, how is this game? It's pretty fun. It's definitely a little light on content, as I'm pretty much just going through the same graveyard over and over again, endlessly. That said, they at least got the fun part right, which is specifically, this is a monster mulcher game. It's not really supposed to be particularly challenging. And so, it's quite enjoyable playing this, running around and just, shooting things left and right, and building my character to be the most ridiculous monster mulcher that ever did mulch monsters. And so, we started as the Knight, who I dig, but I feel like this character is just so much more satisfying. I'm not quite comfortable with the idea of stopping while shooting in this game. That's the one... Ow, that hurt. That's the one little beef that I do have, that it's like, I kind of wish I could shoot on the run, but I understand why they don't have that. There we go. There are any other types other than melee and ranged skeletons? There's a couple of different types of skeletons that you can find later on. I don't know why I haven't run into them yet. I'm currently just in a random dungeon. But there's some bigger skeletons, there's elites, there's thief skeletons that are a little harder to spot and they can dodge your attacks, and I think do a little bit more damage. Yeah, I should probably be patient, but I think I'm mostly just going for speed. There we go. I'm mostly just trying to catch this character up. Let's see. And maybe get a new bow. I do really like the fact that my gear levels with me. That it's not a factor of finding new weapons. Because that's something I always kind of struggle with in these games. It's more of a factor of like, okay, you find a cool weapon, and it changes how you play. And that's huge. I wish more games had gear that had their own talent trees and leveling systems associated with them. I believe Last Epoch, which is another Diablo-style game, that one does have really neat, like, gear leveling to some degree. I need to put some time into it. Like I said, I have it installed, and I've been meaning to play it. Time is never on my side. Because, yeah, I mean, I guess I could stop playing this right now, and switch over to it, and that actually would be just as viable, but I don't know. I'm enjoying myself. We can do at least one more level, maybe more. And once we unlock more weapons, this game will be more fun. Yeah, I was hoping they'd up the drop rates on your first couple of Slorm Reapers. Or it'd also be kind of nice if there was like a Slorm Reaper drop chance that would go up every single time you open a rift. So every time you open a rift, it's like a 1% drop rate increase. Up until the point where it hits like 50%, and then as soon as you get that, it drops back down to, you know, whatever the base chance of getting a Slorm Reaper. Hey, speaking of, Bo the Nimble Warrior. That actually sounds really cool. Okay, crit strike damage, ancestral strike, crit chance. Let's see, so it does overall less damage. When you're dealt damage, effects listed as nimble are deactivated. Oh. So we lose some damage. but it's worth it. It's also lower level. I still want to see if I can get something with rebound or more forking, just for extra excessive. But honestly, like, giving me more crit seems really useful all the same. Let's see. Been playing a bunch of Torchlight 3 recently. I gotta go back to that. I did the sponsored video and then I stopped. I have this really bad problem when a developer sponsors a video from me. It's very hard for me to want to go back to it. Even if it's a game that I love. Like, Torchlight 3's got its issues, but it's still the kind of game that I really enjoy and I'd like to play more. But they hired me to do a sponsored video on it at the end of last year. And I did it, and it was great. And I really enjoyed being Mulch Monster Super Robot. But, oh hey, I got my HP back. Huh. Okay, so I guess I can go for a lot longer. Let's see. But, just like psychologically, I think so much of it has to do with the fact that I'm afraid of getting screwed over by a video sponsor, where they're not going to pay me. And to some degree, like, I have this problem where it takes me a while to send an invoice as a result. But I'm so afraid that I'm going to do a sponsored video for a developer, and they're just not going to pay me, and so I'm going to sit there doing this series on a game where the developer owes me money. And, you know, I have to sit down and say, like, do I cancel the series? Do I, like, yell at them? What should I do? And so I've always just had this, like, mental block that I've never been able to escape of the, like, the risk-reward there. It does not feel good for me. And so, like, whenever I do a sponsored video on a game, I straight up, like, don't play it anymore. It's rough, because I want to play more of it. I have that same problem with a, Solasta, Crown of the Magister, which is, like, actually one of the better D&D games that I've played, ever. Like, it's rough around the edges, but it's got a real charm to it that I don't get from a lot of other D&D games. Like, I like, Baldur's Gate 3, but it feels like more Larian to me, and makes me just want more, makes me want more Divinity Original Sin. I didn't really want them to make Baldur's Gate 3. I know why they're doing it, and I support that, but I know that I would have preferred a Divinity Original Sin 3, because despite the fact that I'm an avid D&D fan, I feel like Divinity Original Sin is more fun. Like, the elemental effects and the spells and so on and so forth. And they've got a little bit of that in Baldur's Gate 3, but it's not quite there. Are there any bosses in this? Not that I've encountered yet. But it is very early access, so who knows? Ah! Yep, missed, and we're good. Ooh, is that like a double crit? I've never seen an orange crit in this game. It's gotta be something special. Let's see. Wonder are you and Shell ever gonna go back to Croatia? Maybe someday. Not anytime soon, though, I can tell you that. Partly because I loved Croatia, but I really want to go elsewhere. You know, I don't travel much, and since I'm not in Europe, it's really difficult to go back to a place that I've already been. Or it's really difficult to go to Europe. If somehow the US ever, like, joins the EU or something like that, I might consider it. Which I realized, like, at that point it wouldn't be the EU anymore, but boy would I love that. If I could just, like, move to Europe for a couple of years, and just say, like, yeah, I'm just gonna live in, I don't know, like, outside of... I have no idea which city I would ever live outside of. Like, I like Dubrovnik, but I don't think I'd go back there again. Apart from, like, a week-long vacation just to, kind of re-explore it. Let's see. But, I don't know. I guess, I got too many other European countries that I want to spend time on my bucket list, that the idea of just going, back to Croatia is kind of tough. Lovely country, though. But it's just, like, time-consuming. My problem with Diablo games is I always end up perfecting my build about 5 levels in and then completely check out mentally for the rest of the game because I no longer need to actually worry about tactics or dying. Yeah. Ooh, right. Specialization. I forgot about that. Oh. Is this just summon... Oh! I didn't even realize they had their own build here. Oh no, these are passives. Okay. That's really cool. Okay, what else do we have? Sharpshooter of the Wild. Let's see, bonus speed during Assassin's Haste. Or Mistwalker. Bunch of Evasion. Knockback on Projectile. Smog Hunter. I think this is more of a dagger build. Daggers and traps. Yeah, you can even see. Key mechanics, Tormented. What's the support ability? Tumble. When you land, gain Assassin's Haste. I don't know, I feel like Architect of Death seems really helpful. Oh, I can also increase my maximum mana. The extra money might not be terrible, too. I think a lot of these passives don't seem very exciting. Whenever you kill an enemy, you have a 1% up to 5% chance to create a light ballista at his position. Maybe. Arrow shot, rain of arrows, and void arrow. And a moral arrow apply poison. That might actually be something to consider. Because I think, yeah, that's just my basic arrow. Oh, light arrows shot by ballistas within 2 yards of you inherit your projectile modifiers. Additional projectile fork chance, rebound chance, and projectile speed. When you reach Tormented, the next skill you cast has additional 7 life on hit. Oh, and then 1% life leech at the very bottom as kind of a healing option. So what else we got down here? Ooh. This one's tough. Superior Endless Quiver. 5 additional projectiles. Does increase the mana cost tremendously, though. That's the extra projectile speed. Crit strike chance. Attack speed. Let's see. Projectile damage reduction. Extra damage to enemies within a 2-yard radius. I don't know. I think I'm going to go for this one just because healing is kind of few and far between. Now the question is, do we want to boost the fire rate on my ballistas? I think so. Hey, thank you V for the raid and welcome on in. How you guys doing today? How was were you doing Isaac or something else? I guess it's either Isaac, Dead Cells, or Curse of the Dead Gods, and it could be any of those. Also, V, if you're still here, let's see. Just from this menu, I'm liking what I'm seeing. So this game is the Slormancer. It is very much like an indie Diablo-like. It's very early development, where there's not a whole lot to do, in terms of, okay, tonight was Dead Cells night. Yeah. There's not a whole lot to do. Mostly you're just shooting basic mobs, but they've got a lot of the character builds in, which is really cool, because there's just so much to do. I think I could respec whenever, so we're gonna start with Gold Find. And then we'll switch around accordingly. Okay. Let's see. Anyway, I guess V, before you go, if you do end up streaming any Monster Hunter, let me know, because I know Dane also has it. I wouldn't mind getting a crew together for just like an hour or two someday. But if not, no pressure. We are both very busy people, I'm sure. Well, I mean, I know I'm busy. I'm assuming you are. I just love Monster Hunter, and I would not mind playing some more with people. Even if your current state is try builds in the sandbox, it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah, I'm looking forward to where this goes, and I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of, like, true indie Diablo-likes that actually have promise, so this one stands out pretty hard. I always feel like Action Dungeon Crawler would be the better way to describe these games. I really don't like using a previous game to describe another game. It always feels like it's doing a disservice to the game, and also puts way too much of the onus on the original game to actually be good. Or to remain existing. Let's see, how do you find the fast combat in this game? Skills and movement? So it doesn't have a whole lot of movement skills that I've run into yet. Holy shit, that turret's actually pretty good. Okay. Now let's keep going. I am very strong. Your character's just merely skipping through a graveyard slaughtering things. It's very satisfying. That I want to play more Diablo games that aren't grimdark and sad. Like, I want to play a Diablo game where the characters are really happy to be there. And, you know, maybe they're still fighting the forces of evil, but it's just like, yeah, we realize that, like, everything sucks, but it's way more fun. Or maybe even the characters are, like, kind of slightly self-aware that it's like, yeah, we're here for the loot. Like, we get that we're fighting literally Satan embodied in this other game. But, or Satan embodied but under a different title. But this is really fun. Check it out, I can fire 30 arrows with one arrow just by doing a goof. That turret is actually, like, insanely good. Dude just lays the smackdown on things. Here's the real question. Ah, dang. I have to have line of sight. Okay, let's keep her distance. But yeah, this character is just happy to be here, and it just feels good. Let's see. Diablo's the game with the rainbows and unicorns level. Well, they do have a cow level, but even the cow level is kind of dreary. Let's see. Yeah, Metroidvania, action adventure, explore your map thingy, roguelike, procedural, repetitive death simulator. Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of fine with Metroidvania, and at least currently it's kind of fine with Metroidvanias and roguelikes, because the genres and the source games have aged gracefully, kind of, or at least faded into the annals of history, and then it's, you know, just kind of business as usual for everything else. My main issue with the Diablo likes is, like, I really feel like we're a couple of years away from Blizzard making some real big mistake. And, like, they've already had a lot of gaffes in a way that, like, people are not happy with. Yeah, that turret is just mulching things for me. I don't have to do shit half the time. I just lay it down and run. Yeah, didn't Diablo 3 have a unicorn level? It might have. I didn't stick around long enough to find out. Like, I like the idea of Diablo 3, but it just... I don't know, it felt weird to me after playing Diablo 2 for so many years. No small part has to do with the fact that they took away the sheer level of customization that you could do. They still have an amount of it, but it just didn't feel the same. But I feel like Grim Dawn and Path of Exile capture what it means to be to make a Diablo-like, or to be a Diablo-like, more than Diablo does nowadays. Not that that's necessarily a problem. Oh. Guess we had a random spare point lurking down here in Dexterity, which is not terrible, but still, I don't know. This is what happens when corporations make games and not developers with passion having creative control. Yeah, the slow death of passion is kind of sad. Okay, so we are currently looking at a 40% fort chance. The mana cost on this is the one problem. However, I think we're okay, at least currently. Makes me very spooky against groups. There we go. Yeah, Diablo 4 is in development. 50-50 on it being good, just bad or actively offensive and money hungry. Yep. Jury is super out on what it's going to be. I'm probably going to pick it up and play it just because, but I feel like I'm not going to have the same passion. Like, when Diablo 3 came out, admittedly, I think I even had this problem with Diablo 3. No, I absolutely did. Now that I think about it, part of the reason why I'm so tentative on this is that, like, Diablo 3 broke my heart. How many of you guys picked that game up on launch week? Like, day one? Because I feel like launch week Diablo 3 was soul-crushing for people that were big on the Diablo series. And I don't think I've ever truly recovered from that. Which, like, I realize I'm being a little bit melodramatic, but, like, it had the same server issues that so many multiplayer games have nowadays, where they're like, you know, it's PvE, we don't need to worry about servers, and then just their game does not function for days. And then you get into the game, and you play it for a while, and you're like, holy shit, they did a real money auction house for this. Why did they do that? And not only that, like, it was one of those where, like, you didn't even get any good gear playing Diablo 3 for the first couple of updates. Ancestral Legacy Bow. Oh, it's R. So let's see what this one does. Okay, elemental damage, +1 power crystal. Reaper damage is added to elemental damage instead of skill damage. Power crystals are rotating around you, piercing crystal shards every second, dealing 4 to 5 elemental damage to enemies hit. Crystal shards can deal increased ancestral strike damage and trigger critical strike effects. Holy shit. It doesn't have the highest of damage, but I think the point is the power crystals are supposed to be good. Okay. I just want to see how this functions. I don't really see it firing as much. Okay, it does like 4 damage. I think, let's switch back to this one. I think this is something I will specifically use, once I actually have an elemental effect on one of my attacks. Because currently, there's no point in speccing into it because I don't benefit from it too much. People said for months that online only would cause that, and it did. Yeah, because they wanted to make the auction house not a thing, but necessary. Not just a thing, but necessary. The patch where they removed it ahead to up all rarities by like 600%. Yup. And like, I think I got to act... No, I beat Diablo 3, like, launch week. And then I never played it again because it wasn't fun. I beat it with, like, trash gear. And I didn't want to go on the real money auction house just to buy something that's actually halfway decent. Especially not for a Diablo-like. Like, maybe endgame gear I could almost justify the cost because then I'm not going to replace it. Like, when playing World of Warcraft, if I could pay like $5 to get a full raid set, I might. Just to save myself time. But leveling in Diablo, it's just like, oh man, let's buy this new weapon that's going to be replaced in a level. Or 3, maybe. Or I'll be stuck with it forever because the drop rates are so bad that, like, I never get anything better. Like, there's so many different approaches and means of handling it that, like, they did that just made it feel garbage. And so I've always been, like, just kind of inherently distrustful and unhappy with Blizzard's sense. And so, like, even if Diablo 3 is really good now, and by all measures it is, like, when we did the Switch series, it was actually a lot of fun. But it was one of those where I was just like, I can't be hurt again in this manner. I mean, still melodrama, but it's one of those that when you base so much of your childhood identity off of a game, losing that hurts. I think I might write and script a video essay, and schedule it to go out, I don't know, maybe I should have it, oh gosh, that's a lot of arrows. I'll have to think about this. Because I would like to put into, like, an actual script of, like, why bad releases for your overhyped or high expectation games, can be, like, really hard on people. It got to the point where every run you did, you got a legendary. It got boring. I feel like, though, that's more of a critical failing of the gameplay itself than it is the drop rates. And that, for so many of these games, you pull back the curtain of drop rates and loot, and you actually look at what the game is, and so few of these games are actually good. Like, it was really interesting playing Genshin Impact a couple months ago. I liked it, actually. It was not a bad game. But it had horseshit drop rates and loot that really meant, like, it was meant to keep you there and keep you grinding. That they could have gone full JRPG, sold it for $60, more or less had you unlock everything as you just go along. And I would have finished that game because it wouldn't have felt like I'm being almost held hostage by the drop rates. Hey, thank you, Minifig, for the sub. Welcome on in. Oh, I guess you've been hanging out and chatting this entire time. But still, what was I going to say? Right. That, like, Genshin Impact's mystique lasted until you actually started trying to go for something that you wanted. Or, you know, you really just started caring about actually winning something from the loot boxes. And it was sad because, like, I actually really wanted to get into that game, but I knew that, like, after a certain point, the gacha curtain would pull itself back, and I would see the drop rates on things, and I'd be like, holy shit, like, this just isn't worth my time or my money. I know people that have dumped, like, $10,000 into that game already, and it, like, I feel like at that point, if a game is doing that to people, that actually should be illegal in some way, shape, or form. That is... Any game that you dump $10,000 into either has to be real special, or really exploitative. And so I have that problem a lot with games that are meant around like the loot grind feel. That's usually why I only play the ones that I have access to cheat engine or something like that. So for example, Borderlands, for example, I'm saying for example too much, I'm looping. But for that one, if I find a gun that I really like, I can just say like, I get to keep this gun for as long as I want, and I will just keep scaling it up until I find something new that I like better. And if I really don't like anything that I have, there was even the option of kind of crafting your own gun with the save editor to make something really special. And unfortunately what that meant was that I had like zero compunction to play Borderlands after a certain point. But that it was a ton of fun all the same. Because I was no longer being locked into this grind loop looking for a new weapon to make the game fun again. I already had it, and I just scaled them up. Okay, we still have stab. I don't think I care too much about stab. Am I not level 13? I must be close. Because yeah, what I want... Oh. But it still does skill damage. I'll have to look at how elemental damage factors into all of this. Because this does elemental damage. Oh, but it's a charge move. Ugh. Huh. Immortal Arrow can just be guided around. Neat. I don't think I actually care too much. Let's see. Know a friend that has 300 hours in Genshin Impact. Only bought 4 or 5 things when they did a $5 deal, but has otherwise just done a grind for the cards. And it's like, I can respect that, but I also feel like, I don't think Genshin Impact, as good as it was, justifies 300 hours of my life. Admittedly, a lot of games, I don't feel like that really has that justification of cost. And like, I guess maybe it's the more I play indie games, the more I realize that like, realize and value games that don't... that, I guess, that do respect my time as a person. Let's see, did you notice the 3 class specializations? They really change how you play. Yup! Yeah, I'm currently turret spec. Just because eventually you can get it so the turrets inherit your projectile modifiers, and boy, I want some, I want a turret that does mad forking business, so I can just drop it and run. She only plays that in Monster Hunter, so like, grind his life. I guess it makes sense. If you really want to get deep in something and you don't want to, you don't want to deviate, or you don't have the money to do so, that's not so bad. I just know for me, like, if I did that sort of thing, I never would have, I probably never would have played Outer Wilds. Like, that game was such a beautiful experience, and respected my time in such a, like, holistic manner. That's an expensive turret. We might need to look into mana regen. Okay, let's see. No, that's not it. Ancestral Legacy. Any of these guys give mana regen? This increases it by 10%. That's an option. I got 1 point in it. Oh, right. Let's take a look at the new equipment that I have. I might want to just bail. At this point, I'm not finding anything new. And we have so much equipment that I should probably get new stuff. Yeah, we haven't even found any yellows yet. That said, we are pretty dang ridiculous. So I don't know. I'll say that this was a very reasonable run. Let's see. Now I'm just looking for anything that gives me extra mana regen. So I can keep spitting fire. Nope. Alright, that's it. Let's see, wonder does your tip jar work? Sent a few bucks, but nothing was taken from my account. It should work. The one thing I will say is it's been having some weird issues. Oh no, there it is, actually. That's weird. It straight up is not taking any of my Twitch subs or bits or anything like that on my notification bar. But it did see that one. Because yeah, I see the $10 donation from Touch Me Saito. Thank you. I still think your username is really weird. I don't think I'll ever be able to get around that. Let's see. Told Shell to make a pizza, and I think she might be getting pizza. Alright, let's head home. Whatever this rift is, okay, it's all white. Most of my drops finishing the graveyard have been green-blue. I think it's because, I think it was a low-influence graveyard. Maybe? Oh, influence only unlocks new enemies at this stage of early access. Oh, so that's why we haven't been finding a whole lot of new things. Well, that gave me a shit ton of Slorm. So, that was satisfying. That was a good run. And honestly, I was just so chill. I kind of need games like this. Ah, hello, Miss Adventure. I take care of the warehouse. If you have items you want to store, leave them to me. My dad told me to be nice to you. He's the blacksmith. You're going to find him, aren't you? Nope. We're just going to randomly encounter him. And that's how this works.